Welcome to today's episode of the Weapons of War podcast, and I'm your host, Eden Chonde. Today we are going to look at our general elections set for Jan 2026. So again, this is a perspective that I want us to look at, discuss in the comments later on with you, and engage with you on how you think we should approach our general elections differently, perhaps. So this is one of the things that we've often used when referring to relationships. The issue called red flags. In relationships, we've heard about red flags. When he does this, that's a red flag. When she does this, that's a red flag. And as well as mainly applied in relationships, where at times when people have gone on in a relationship and perhaps it hasn't worked out, people go back and then review and I should have seen this red flag. I should have seen this. When he did this, that was a red flag. When he did this, that was a red flag. Or perhaps it's him talking about her. She did this. That should have been a red flag. But you find that there were so many, or a number of red flags that happened along the way. But perhaps the girl or the guy ignored and they moved forward, and then when they were hurt, they looked back and noticed various instances that they had ignored that perhaps if they had paid much attention to, they would not have ended up in this disappointed state in which they are. You get? So I want us to carry that same mentality and perception when we are going into the election, that we should not ignore red flags when it comes to our elections. There are always those moments, there are always those things that candidate X, candidate Y may do, may say, may not say, even at times by not saying you've said a lot, that should be red flags. That is this person really the right person for this office? And I'm talking about the presidency, it could be the parliamentary seat, it could be the LC5, Lord Mayor, whatever it is. Whatever position you are going to be voting for, or elective office you are going to be voting for, do not ignore the red flags. Just like you do in relationships, if you ignore the red flags at this point, and those people are voted into office, we may look back in hindsight and be like, I wish we had known. I wish we had known. Because I say this because it has always being at the back of my eating me up a bit, that when I look at certain of the regimes people have said were bad, that they did this, did that, I often ask that, weren't there red flags when these things happen? Because especially in Uganda's case, almost every president that came through at the back of celebrations and dole and everything. People were happy. I'm like, how come they were happy and not alone who created this man? Were there certain red flags that they missed? Were there certain things that perhaps had they paid much more attention to, they would have known and approached this gentleman with skepticism and then be like, perhaps it's not the angel that we think they are. I'll give an example. For example, I've heard that when Amin was coming through, people were happy for him. Were there red flags in that sense? When Obote took over from the first president, Kabakedo Mutesa first, were there any red flags that people could have looked at and like, is this the right man? Or people ignored them, given the frenzy of the time when the current government came in? Were there some red flags that people could have looked at? What about amongst the so many candidates that are vying for the various offices? Are there certain red flags that you look at and no, because this one said this and this, because he did not say or comment about this and this, because he ignored this subject matter, for me that's a red flag. Understand? So again, I'll take back to relationships, that because of what someone values, there are certain things they expect their spouse to also hold in certain regard. Okay? And now when you find that, say, let me give an example. Say if someone loves going to church, they are so into their God, and then they hear this person, for them they don't care so much about those things. That could be a red flag. If for you, you value this and the person doesn't, that could be a red flag. And then you have to decide, do you go ahead in spite of the red flag? Or at times people ignore the red flags, and after they have gotten their side and realize this person is not into prayers and then into God past their atheists, then they turn back and I wish I had known, but you missed the red flag. When you called this individual to church, they never came. When you called them to fellowship, they never came. When you called them to they never came. For any prayer meeting, they never came. Actually, they discouraged you from going for prayer meetings. And somehow you carried on. Now that should have been a red flag for you to be like, do I continue in spite of the red flag? But you ignored it. So I often look at that, I'm like, politically speaking, are there red flags that we tend to ignore in the heat of the moment? And then later on, the things turn back to bite us? Okay, so I want us to approach these elections knowing and looking around for, are there any red flags? But red flags don't come out of the blue. They come out of a belief system that if I believe this and someone does that, that's a red flag. If I believe this, if I value this and someone does that, that's what? That's a red flag. Otherwise, for a person who has no values, who has no, whose life just goes, you have no red flags. That means anything that comes for you won't be flagged. You understand? But then I also notice that just that as it is in relationships, people usually miss the red flag for usually one particular reason. They are emotionally vested that they cannot think things out logically. They are so in love, so taken up, emotions riding high, that even if this person does things that are wrong, that are off, because they are emotionally, sunk into this relationship, they won't see them, they will miss them. But later on, they are a year down the road, when emotions have settled and you can see clear, that's when people start to complain. Hey, I didn't see this, oh, I missed it. Because you are taken over by all these emotional frenzies and whatever. At the time that you missed, you couldn't see clearly. Understand? So the same thing happens when it comes to politics. Most of us get so emotionally, involved and sink into the process, sink into the various candidates. We love them, we go for them, whichever party, whichever inclination you are. And then because of that, we don't clearly see logically, because we are emotional, we've emotionally sunk into the elections, the frenzy, the whatever, the atmosphere, the season, that we can't logically say, hey, what did the person just say? How could she say that? How could she answer that to this question? How could she remain down when they ask such a question and she just skirted around it? I think that's an important question. Why don't we stick there? How come he came, talked about this, I never talked about this? Isn't this a red flag? You understand? But because we are taking to this, friendly season, we don't question much of the things that are actually red flags. And later on, when you voted someone into office for the 5 years, for a 5-year office, and perhaps months or a year into it, you realize you made a mistake. And then you go back, you remember actually when he appeared here and said this, when she appeared here and she said that was a trigger. You should have noticed, but you did not that. So all I'm saying that in this election season that we are in, whatever candidate it is, as we follow them, as we continue to engage with them and with the various messages that they are pushing out, we need to be very, very, very careful. Be sober. Read even that which is not spoken. Read because at times certain of them are masters of good language, of knowing the moment, and they speak what requires to be spoken. Just like on the other side of relationships, when you meet players are good at selecting what to say, when and where, just to ensure they get their end of the matter. They get to their end of the matter. Same applies to politics. But you need to be sober and vigilant to cut through certain of the words that are said, certain of the things that are not said. Read the actions, read the body language, read the non-communicated things. And then you'll be able to tell is this the right candidate? Is this the right person to be my LC5, to be my rep mayor, to be my MP? Is this what they have said? Is this what she has said? A red flag, so they can't be my MP? But you have to look out for these things. Don't be swept up into this whole thing. Hey, everyone, this, everyone, that. What this one is her LC one you've chosen as who? Analyze them. Analyze them, of course, through the lenses of your personal values. Because everyone has different red flags. What may be a red flag to me may not be a red flag to you. Because again, red flags also depend on one's values. If I take my religious freedoms to be so big, another person may not. And for me, a person who speaks, loudly and casually about things to do with faith, from that may be a major red flag. When someone else is not looking at that. Understand? So, depending on your values, please look out for these red flags amongst all these candidates. So that again, 1 year into voting someone in office, you do not regret, like that guy or girl who regrets a year into the relationship and they think they made a mistake. Actually, it may not be that they think, it may be right that they made a mistake. But because they ignored several red flags, because they are emotional, they were in love, love blinds, understand? There was a hitter some time back of Jello and LL Cool J, which was All I Have, and there's a line in there where LL Cool J said that don't make decisions when you're mad, but also don't make decisions when you're excited, when you're and your friends. Like, it's not good to make decisions when you're at an emotional high or emotional low. You get your decision making process may be clouded. I may not be able to make that decision well. So while this campaign season goes on, we need to pull out at times, breathe in, analyze, look at this content. What are they saying? Are there issues I need to be aware of? Are there issues I need to look out for? Or people just ignore things. Yeah, they said, but then what? So what? Is her man? She's her person. No, you can't go into serious matters of this level with when you're that casual. So please, let's look out for the red flag. I'm not inclined to be, but I think that the people back then, say for example, did people welcome and were they so excited about coming in because of perhaps what Obote had done to the Kabaka in '66, invasion of Rubiri, and then eventually exiling him, that perhaps some sections in the central were happy to see a change of guard. Were they that excited that they never read through what perhaps Idi Amin stood for? That they were so pissed and angry at the previous government? What about when the current government came through? Were people so angry and tired of the regime, the past regimes? There, and then Obote too, and then the trans coming, the cavalry around there. Were they yearning for a savior, for someone to step in, and then someone stepped in when perhaps they never had time to analyze what they stand for, and they supported the war in the bush, and then perhaps years later some are now, are immigrants. They feel betrayed, some feel that, some feel this. Of course, some still love the regime, though it is. But I'm saying those who may have, perhaps, who think they are betrayed, are there red flags that they missed then? You understand? So for me, it's the way that we need to approach politics. It's a manner we need to approach relationships, because we are voting for someone to manage a given office for us. Whether it's a country or a constituency or a parish, or a division, whatever it is, we're voting people into office. But we need to be sure of the people that we are getting into office. We should not disregard or dismiss the red flags. We should look out for them. If someone says something, was that a mistake? Did they mean it? How come they were asked this and they answered that way? That's a bit suspicious. Did they answer it wrongly, or they were skirting around the question, trying to dodge the bullet? what is this that they keep asking about the person? How about ask the questions? It will help you make, or help us make the right decision when it comes to voting our next candidates. That at this decision that we may not always regret, that I wish I had known, I wish I had known. And in most cases, it's not even I wish I had known. In most cases, it is, how did I miss this? She even said this year, how did I miss this? She even said this year, how did I miss that? And you've seen several of those clips when finally something happens and then people go back and collect all these clips. In hindsight, they play them out and they're like, how could we miss 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all these places? How could we miss all this? But people go back to review after something bad has happened, after they have been disappointed. That's when they go back to review. But we can review before we can be proactive. Review, step forward, look through all these candidates that you have on your list that you're considering. Look through what they're saying. Look through how they are saying it. Are they people to be trusted? Okay, so for me, that's it that I wanted us to look at today. Please, let's not ignore the red flags getting into our elections in 2026, so that we may avoid the disappointments to come, so that we may not look in hindsight wondering where we missed it, how we missed it, how come we didn't, so that we are not blaming anyone. You look at all these rulers that came through, especially the dictators, the Chavez of Venezuela, the Granford de Maduro. You look at all these Stalins, you read about the Hitlers, and most of them came on this wave of popularity, riding this wave of popularity, most of them. And wonder, yes, this must happen, and people support them. Some of them, okay, some of them maybe, not all of them, but some people support them. And then how come they turned around against the people? Didn't the people read that there's pretense that the monster, there's the devil hiding, camouflaging as an angel of light? How are there some red flags that they missed? That then they supported this evil person, and then they even sacrificed to ensure this evil person gets to office, promising heaven and earth only to deliver hell on earth. Okay, so for me, there's a lot of lessons we can pick from history, a lot of lessons we can pick, in our present lives, and even from other walks of life, from relationships, from business partnerships. People make business partnerships and then they look back and like, I wish I had known that this person is not trustworthy. Even here he did this, even here he did this. Even the other man in the said, this person doesn't pay. Even now he entered into a business partnership with such a person. And then the first money he got for the capital, the person ate it and perhaps they ran away, bought a ticket and ran to other countries. But the red flags that you have ignored. Now that same perspective, that same approach, we should bring it into our politics, that we should be vigilant, we should be sober, we should scrutinize these candidates and be sure that there are no red flags we are missing. Let's not be swept up in this frenzy. Let's not make decisions when we are excited, when we are in this election frenzy. Yes, and just go tick, append a tick after, before someone's name or a face that we are going to regret for the next 5 years. So let us approach this with a bit of, more caution and less excitement. Yeah, so please, that's it for today. Please don't ignore the red flags in this upcoming election. Look, observe, analyze all our candidates. What they say, what they don't say, their body languages, do they mean what they say, do they say what they mean, or they are saying things to appease us in the occasion of the moment. Find out about them. Find out from the people that are close to them, the people that have worked with them, especially the people that they have annoyed. those that have left them, hear them out, and be sure, pick all the sides, make the decisions, and please let us continue the discussion in the comment section. And again, this has been the Weapons of War podcast, and I'm your host, Eden Chond. Like, comment, and let us continue the engagements in our comment section. Till next time, please.